Most High be praised today. We do bless the Almighty for his goodness, his graciousness to us on this Wednesday evening. Thank the Most High for the prayer time that we've been able to have. Hallelujah. Glory to his great name. Well, as you know, tomorrow at sundown will be the beginning of Hanukkah. We bless the Most High for this season. I love it when Hanukkah comes. There's a lot of celebration that we do, a joyful time for many of us and our families in the Messianic Israelite community, as we recall the miracle-working power of Yahuwah to preserve his people and preserve his promise. For us as Messianic Israelites, when we celebrate Hanukkah, we focus on the fact that the preserving of the Judean Israelites and the recapturing of the temple was of great significance, not only for the preservation of our ancient Judean Israelites, but also to preserve the prophecy of Yeshua's coming. You see, the event of Hanukkah, celebrating the rededication of the temple, that event pretty much occurred around 167 BCE. So that's about 160-something years before the birth of Yeshua. And what was happening that was so very pivotal was the oncoming threat of the Judean Israelites being annihilated, or having to become a part of the Greek culture through assimilation. In other words, completely abandoning the faith. The preservation of that preserves the prophecy written in Micah chapter 5 verse 2, where it says that Bethlehem, though you be the smallest of the clans of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth he that is to rule my people, Israel, whose goings forth is of old to everlasting. That prophecy in Micah, commonly called Micah, that prophecy tells us that the Messiah would come through the tribe of Judah, that he would come out of Bethlehem. We know that he was born in Bethlehem, and we know that he came from the tribe of Judah. But you know, if there would have been no Judean Israelites, if there would have been no temple for the Messiah to come to, then guess what? There would not have been no promise preserved. And so, for the Messianic Israelite, Hanukkah has great significance, powerful significance, not just the preservation of our ancient fathers, but the preservation of the prophecy of the Messiah coming. This is huge. Well, let me diverge. Just thought I would say something about Hanukkah since that was on my mind. But I want to say shalom to each one of you, and shalom to you that are watching us by live stream. Today I want to share something about the Hebrew meaning of Hanukkah. Now, last week we talked about Hanukkah, the Feast of Dedication, and we talked about how the word Hanukkah means rededication. Today I want to go a little bit further, and I want to look at the Hebrew letters of the word Hanukkah. You know, some might find this to be quite interesting and quite enlightening to understand how this Hebrew word Hanukkah gets its definition. And with other words that we have shared in the past, where we talked about the word Baruch, which means blessing, or it's been translated blessing, but it literally means having the support of the Creator. And we talked about the word Tov, what the word Tov means, looking at the Hebrew meaning of Tov. We want to look at this word Hanukkah. We want to look at the Hebrew letters, and we're going to show how in the Hebrew letters we get the meaning of rededication. So, before we do that, let's just have a quick word of prayer, and then we're going to jump right into it. Father, thank you right now for this opportunity to be able to share and communicate this truth today. I ask you, Father, that it would bring enlightenment and encouragement and edification. May each one that's attending learn something that would impact their lives, that they may learn something about the beauty of our language, Hebrew, and how this is the original language that you gave to man, and that you're going to one day restore it. And so, Father, we thank you in advance and ask that you be glorified. In Yahshua's name we thank you. Amen. Now, I want to begin by saying that the letters that we're going to show that are pronounced Hanukkah are going to be from the Paleo-Hebrew. And the reason why I'm saying that it's going to be from the Paleo-Hebrew is because most people that hear the term Hebrew, at least those who are familiar with Hebrew and the language, their mind automatically begins to think about the block script Hebrew, which is called modern Hebrew. And that block script Hebrew, called modern Hebrew, actually is an Aramaic, ancient Aramaic text. It's actually the Babylonian script. And it was adopted after the Judean Israelites came out of Babylonian captivity and went back to the land of Israel. So they used that as their lettering style, while yet giving Hebrew phonetics to it, or Hebrew sounds to it. And so, since I've been looking at the Paleo-Hebrew, I find that it's much better to use the Paleo-Hebrew, because when we start talking about the letters and the meaning of the letters, you're able to see in the Paleo-Hebrew the picture. You're able to get the idea from the picture a bit better. So that's why I like to present it. So here we go. Here is the word Hanukkah. This is in the Paleo-Hebrew script. We always read from right to left. So we go from right to left in our reading. Now, the first letter that we have, this is called the het. It gives that h sound. It's the het. The second letter is the nun. See this thing right here? It looks like, well, I don't like to say it over, but I'm going to say it anyway. It looks like a sperm, actually. It's regarded as the seed. This is what it represents. It's the nun. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about the nun. This right here, this looks something like a support. This is what this is. This is what you call a tent peg. All right? It's used for the purpose of support. I'm going to talk about what that means. This right here is called, well, the support, I didn't give the name for it, sorry. This is called the, you have the nun, the wav. The wav. The support tent peg is the wav. The next letter is the kaf. The kaf is basically an open palm. So this looks something like a hand, okay? And the last letter is the hey. The hey is represented as a man with his arms lifted up, all right? So I want you to think about the pictures that represent each letter in this word Hanukkah. We have the het, which is a tent wall. The nun, which is regarded as the seed. We have the wav, which is a tent peg. We have the kaf, which is an open palm. And we have the hey, which is a man having his hands lifted up. So, the het, the ha-nu-ka. Hanukkah. That's how you pronounce it. You just pronounce the letters based upon the sounds. So, how do we get the definition of it? You know, in ancient Hebrew, it's very simple because the pictures describe the meaning of the word. The same as hieroglyphics in the Egyptian language. Matter of fact, the ancient Egyptian script is almost identical to the Paleo-Hebrew script. And I have the comparisons of those letters in their picture forms. But we know that the ancient Egyptian lettering system developed into what later became called hieroglyphics. And the way that you are able to understand the writing is by deciphering the meaning of each picture, what it means, to find out what the word means. And it's the same way with Paleo-Hebrew. So what you have here, and I'm going to show you the individual picture. This is the het. That's the first word of Hanukkah. The het. The het is a tent wall. Now the tent wall is associated with the house, all right, or the tent, but it's a part of a tent, okay? So anytime you see this letter being used, this letter has a connection with the tent. Now, the Hebrew letter that represents the tent is the bait. The bait is the tent. The bait is a very, very important letter because that letter is the one that's used when you speak of things related to creation or you speak of things related to the family. Like if you want to say something like create, it would begin with the bait. It would be bara. That's the word for create. It has to do with the idea of something coming out of the tent or something that comes out of the house. So the bait has to do with this idea of being the place of origin where everything comes from. All right? And so when you talk about the bait, you talk about the house. You talk about the place where everything comes from. So you also have this idea of the bait being the place of Elohim's habitation, because that's the first house, Elohim's house. All right? The bait. So when you speak in terms of the head is attached to the tent, is something that has to do with the house. This letter right here, okay? So it's important that we understand the head. What does the head mean? The head means a number of things. It means division in that it separates the outside from the inside, okay? When another letter is attached to the head, it has to do with the idea of bringing the thing that's outside inside of the house, all right? It has to do also with the idea of something that is outside, because see, everything that's outside, see, well, we got to remember, everything that's created comes out of the house, right? It comes out of the house. So whatever comes out of the house, if it is brought behind the tent, that means it's brought back into the house, okay? So it gives the idea of something coming back into the house to go back out again. It has to do with the idea of a restart. Either a renewing of something or another beginning of something. It's something being done over again because it's being taken from the outside, being brought back into the house, and then going back out. Is this making a little bit of sense? All right. So that's the head. Hold on to that thought. All right. Hold on to that thought. So when we look at the rest of the letters here in the word Hanukkah, the Nun, and the Wav, the Kaf, and the He, we're going to notice something when we look at the Nun, okay? Now, this is the Nun. This is regarded as the seed, okay? The seed, for most cases, is representative of the children, all right? The children, or the seed that comes out from the house. Like to say children, ben, that's where you take the bait and the nun. But in ben, it means the seed that comes out of the house. That represents the children. It means the children, those that are produced from the house, okay? So the seed represents that which is produced. And it also represents the seed of anything that is produced, whether it's of animals, of humans, or of plants, or whatever. But in particular, in most cases, the idea is that it represents us coming out, being created. So the nun represents the seed, okay? Now, the seed is connected to the Wav. Here's the Wav, okay? Here's the Wav. The seed is connected to the Wav. Now, the Wav is a tent peg. A tent peg represents support. It represents adding or connecting, okay? Sometimes this letter right here, if it's used in front of a Hebrew word, it means and whatever the word is or whatever the thing is. It's a word that's used or a letter that's used as a connection, or it means to support, to connect, so, or to secure. So the idea of here you have the nun, the seed, it's receiving support. The seed is receiving support by the Kaf. Now let's talk about the Kaf. This is what the Kaf looks like. Remember I said it's an open palm. All right? It's an open palm, the Kaf. But the Kaf is not just the open palm, but it's more along the lines of a cupped palm, like this. Okay? Now, in modern Hebrew, the Kaf looks like this. I'm showing you what it looks like in modern Hebrew. It looks like a backwards C, U-looking figure. But actually, it's more along the lines of a cup. Okay? That's the idea of it. The Kaf is the open palm that's cupped, because it's used to carry something. Okay? You get that idea, that picture? You have an open palm like this because you are carrying. We do our hands like this in order to carry something. Okay? So the kaf is the open palm, but it's the open palm that is cupped in this manner. So the idea that we get here about the seed is supported by the open palm that's holding and carrying this. This is the idea, that you have the seed supported by the open hand, and then the next letter is the hay. This is the hay. Now, the hay is represented as a man with his hands up in the air. The idea of the hay is of one who is worshiping, one who is giving praise to the Almighty, one who is looking up, one who is having things revealed to him or her. So it has all of these different meanings. But as it fits the context of this, the idea is that the seed is being supported by the open hand and lifted up. So let me demonstrate. If I stand, let me demonstrate. Say I take this box of candles, all right? The box of candles is supported by the open hand and is being lifted up. You get the idea? Say if we do a baby dedication, okay? The seed from the parents, put into the hands and lift it up. It's dedicated. You get the idea? When the priest, if they would take certain parts of an animal, that will be put into the hands, it will be supported by the hands and lifted up. That's being dedicated. So when we look at the word Hanukkah has within it the expression of something that is dedicated. You follow? Does that make sense? But now, what about the het? What is the het? How does that fit into it? Because we just took the last four letters. The nun, the wav, the kaf, and the hay. We took those four letters and we were able to show the description of something that is dedicated, right? The het is presented at the beginning because what the het does, it basically says that that dedication is coming back behind the tent wall. All right? We talked about that the het represents the tent wall, which is a part of the tent. Right? So, the seed that's being presented is brought behind the tent wall so that it could go through the process again. Does that make sense? So this is where we get the term rededication. Okay? To rededicate. Hanukkah. It means not just to dedicate, but to rededicate. And why is it called Hanukkah? The rededication. Why didn't our ancient fathers just call it Nukkah? Why didn't they just call it that? You know? Why? Because the temple had already been dedicated before. See, Hanukkah has to do with the rededication of the temple. The temple had been rededicated when it was first built. It was done by Solomon. And they had an elaborate celebration at that dedication, where the power of Elohim filled the temple so that the priests could not even minister. So it had been dedicated once already. But now, after they had cleaned it up, from being desecrated, they had to now Hanukkah, rededicate the temple. See? So I just wanted to take some time to go into the letters and just give us a lesson on how to be able to understand the Hebrew letters a little bit more, because as we begin to learn these letters, their meanings, and how to define the words in Hebrew, it's going to help us to get a better understanding of the scriptures. So that as you go into the original text, you'll be able to look at a word and to begin and be able to get a more accurate meaning for yourself. Because sometimes one word in Hebrew actually is a whole sentence when you break it all the way down. And you're able to see it pictorially. That's the beautiful thing about it. That's what I love about the Hebrew and being able to understand it. And I love the ancient Paleo Hebrew because what it does, it gives you a more accurate description of the name and the picture, And I find that it's, when you look at this, being brought back into the tent, brought behind the tent, it means that, hey, you're going to go through the process again. You're going to go through the process again. It means to rededicate. So this is where we get the meaning of Hanukkah from. It means to rededicate. And something that I want to say to us as the people of Elohim during this season is that we need to take this time as we're celebrating to also think about our own personal relationship with Elohim and make some personal commitments to rededicate ourselves to Him in our lives. One of the things that we've done over the years in our family when we celebrate Hanukkah is we make mention of the fact to our children that it's a time where you need to rededicate yourself to Him. Just as His temple was rededicated, we want to always remember the need to rededicate ourselves, because the scripture teaches us that we are the temple of Elohim. And so with that, I'm going to close with that teaching, but I want to share a little something about celebrating Hanukkah. I brought our Hanukkah Menorah. This is the one that we use. And for those who are going to be celebrating Hanukkah on tomorrow evening, if you're doing it for the first time, I just want to give you a little instruction so you'll know what to do if you've never done it before. As you notice, this has 9 branches, 4 on this side and 4 on that side, and 1 in the middle. The middle branch is called the servant candle. And we put the candle, which is the servant candle, in the middle. This is the candle that's going to light all of the other branches. All right? And when we do our lighting, we light from right to left. That's how we do our lighting, from right to left. Just like we read Hebrew, okay? We do it from right to left. So on tomorrow, we're going to put our servant candle in, and then we're going to put our candle in right here for the first day. We will speak a blessing. We will take the servant candle, which will be lit, and then we will light the first candle and then put this one back. So I just wanted to give a demonstration of what to do for those who plan to celebrate Hanukkah and who are going to be doing it for the first time. That's how we do it. All right. And for those who have not yet gotten their Hanukkah Menorahs, at least for those who live in this region, I know that you should be able to pick up one of these at most stores. A place that I know that carries the Hanukkah Menorahs, I know Target. Target is a place you can go. We've been able to pick up Hanukkah Menorahs from Target. And so if you haven't gotten one yet, go to Target, check Target out. You should be able to find one there. But other places that you may look up, or you may be able to find Hanukkah Menorahs, you can go there just as well. I just thought I'd throw that out about Target because that's just a quick place where you can go and pick one up. But anyway, get your Hanukkah Menorah so that you can get ready for tomorrow evening. At sundown, we will be lighting and beginning the Hanukkah celebration. If you're not able to get a Hanukkah Menorah, you can make your Hanukkah Menorah. You can do it any way you like. You get yourself a box. One time what we did many years ago, we were traveling on our way to the East Coast. We forgot about getting a Hanukkah Menorah, so what we did, we took a box that was similar to a shoebox, and we wrapped it in silver aluminum foil, and we put 9 holes in it. I mean, you can get creative with it if that's what you want to do. Yeah. And we got some candles, and we put candles in it, and we did our Hanukkah lighting that way. So if you choose to get a Hanukkah Menorah, if you're unable to get a Hanukkah Menorah, you can make a menorah and celebrate this feast. All right? So just thought I'd share that with us tonight. Look forward to celebrating and giving the Most High glory. When we celebrate Hanukkah, another thing that we do, as we're doing it during these 8 days, we give gifts during this time. And when our kids were coming up, we would hide the gifts, and then they would have to go find the gifts. We did this every night for 8 days. So it's a wonderful time. Our kids always enjoyed it. And we're so grateful for this season where we can remember the mighty acts of our King and what the Most High did in preserving our ancient Hebrew, Judean Israelites, preserving them from annihilation and preserving the promise of the Messiah, Yeshua. You know, these are the things that we talked about with our children, and these are the things that we taught them in celebrating Hanukkah. And we believe that as we celebrate the things of Elohim, that they ought to have meaning, that they ought to be pointed and directed specifically to the Creator. We found this to be something that was very essential in giving a heritage of faith to our children, that as they practice their faith, that they will understand that the thing that they are doing is not something that was made up or that was attached to some type of pagan system. You know, there are many who are getting ready for the celebration of the Nativity that the Catholic system put for the Messiah to be December the 25th. And with that whole celebration, as you know, that there's the whole Santa Claus and the flying reindeer and all of that. And, you know, when people study all that out, what you find out is that the whole Santa Claus and reindeer thing is associated with Odin and the Yuletide, the original Yuletide. And how Odin would fly through the sky for his great hunt with his reindeer. You know, this what it's all attached to. That's the roots of it. Because the birthday of the deity of the sun, including Odin or Wodan or Gadon, because that's the names that he went by. All of that is attached to December the 25th. We felt it necessary that as we teach our children that they need to be taught truth, and that in this truth that we teach them, they can also celebrate. They can also have a good time. They can also have gifts and presents and understand why we are doing it and what it's all about and who is being praised. So this season for us is a wonderful season. And we're so grateful for the insight that the Almighty has given to us over the years to understand our Hebraic heritage and to be proud of the fact that all of this was done so that our Messiah, Yeshua, may be able to come into the world. And so I'm so grateful for that. Hopefully, you'll be blessed as you celebrate. Those of you who are watching us by live stream, I trust that this teaching and this information that we've been communicating has been helpful for you. If you are a believer and you celebrate the 25th of December, we have no condemnation towards you and what you do. You know, we know that people celebrate based upon what they understand and what they have been told and taught over the years in their religious tradition. But I would like to encourage you, those of you who are believers, to include Hanukkah in your celebration this season, because your Messiah, Yeshua, the Messiah, your Messiah celebrated Hanukkah. And so, with that being said, be encouraged. I trust the teaching has been helpful, and that most of all, the Almighty is blessing and enriching your life. Shalom.